Have you noticed that people around you are too tired? It seems as if everyone in the modern world lacks energy. And indeed it is. According to 2002 data, about 20% of people suffer from chronic fatigue. These numbers have only grown in recent years. Scientists are sounding the alarm and convinced that in comparison with our ancestors, we are just living zombies, and all thanks to the terrible modern way of life. All this is true, but in her book Exhaustion A History, Katharina Schaffner argues that in fact people of the past suffered from chronic fatigue no less than us. But the fatigue was of a different sort. Then all the forces were taken away by physical labor. Later, the Industrial Revolution took place and people switched to mental work, and the usual fatigue of the body was replaced by fatigue of the mind. However, then everyone knew for what reason fatigue appeared. Now, she has acquired a special color. Over the past 50 years, we have changed the environment of our lives so much that the cause of fatigue is not so easy to find. If an ancient worker had to simply not work in order to recover, and representatives of the intelligentsia of the 19th century had to put their papers aside for a while, then modern people simply do not know how to relax. I noticed that watching a series or playing on a computer for some reason is considered a good rest for a modern person. We are very actively convinced of this, so the accountant, who spent the whole week fiddling with numbers and papers on the weekend, wanting to relieve tension, goes to the movies, and the new detective loads him even more. School children, after 6 lessons, sit down for the passage of games in which they also need to think. Our main problem is that we confuse emotional outburst and rest. It seems to us that if an occupation brings pleasure, then we have a rest. We watch TV, look on social networks, and talk on the phone. It feels like relaxation, but in fact we tense up even more. Moreover, we replace this pleasure with real rest. In particular sleep, physical activity, being alone and mentally and relaxing. To understand how to deal with modern fatigue, let's see what has changed recently. Before the electrification of the world, we fell asleep at nightfall and slept a full hour and a half more. Moreover, the sunset prepared us for sleep in a few hours. Our brain produced melatonin and the body relaxed. Now 70% of people fall asleep with a smartphone in their hands. The blue light of the display signals to our body that it is daytime and not the time to sleep. As a result, we lose the deep phase of sleep, which is responsible for recovery. Modern pleasures disrupt our circadian rhythms, which are the basis of our relaxation. So conclusion number 1, sleep more. But we, of course, deprive ourselves not only of sleep. We also lack activity. In 1970, only 20% of people worked at the table, but now this number has exceeded 70%, and after such work we return home and sit again. Most of us sit too much, and that's important. Scientists have shown time after time that immobility brings even more problems than, for example, smoking. The best rest after a day of chair work is a very powerful workout. Studies showed that the most basic activity helps people get rid of chronic fatigue. So conclusion number 2, move more. Our psyche also needs to be unloaded. This is when we are not watching people, including through the screen. We don't talk to anyone, and we just don't do anything. Preferably in nature. Judging by the polls, this is exactly what people lack. Polls are good, but people don't fulfill their desires even when they have the opportunity. For example, today is Sunday and I have just returned from an evening walk. There was a feeling that I was walking not in the metropolis but in an extinct city. That is, all people sit at home looking at the screens and do not rest. So conclusion number 3, know what you're resting from. We are tired because we deprive ourselves of rest. It can be said that modern man, by reducing the amount of work, creates problems for himself. We do not give unloading to those systems of our body that work the most. That is why those who try Oriental practices, such as yoga, fall in love with it so much. There is everything you need: heavy physical exertion, loneliness, mental relaxation, and improved sleep. Maybe yoga is not for you and you need to find something else, but at the same time suitable for these parameters, and I wish you to finally start relaxing.